that we are made for love, by love, to love. That like God, who is love, made us out of love for us to love others. So we are made in his image and likeness for no benefit of his own, but rather to exist to love him and to love others.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Vox Pauli. Today, we have someone brand new to the St. Paul's community, Jen Meier, our new team director. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You ever been on a podcast before?
Technically, I've been on 2 different podcasts.
Oh,
before.
all right. So you're not a rookie. Okay.
Yeah. My first one I was on was back in Manhattan, Kansas. It's called the Kansa Catholic podcast.
Okay.
And it was like a midnight edition. We were talking about Taylor Swift's new album or song that she had posted.
Like every other Catholic podcast.
It was great.
About, yeah.
It was with my priests. They're big Swifties. So
Wow.
we were talking about how the gospel applies to it. And then
do you remember anything? Like how do Taylor Swift songs
we were just talking about
into the gospel?
Her artistic creativity with like her words and just like it was so long ago, but it was so fun. That was the first time they had an audience in it, and so
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm guessing like maybe OG Taylor Swift. She probably, has some Christian themes in there.
Yeah. Well, no, it was her All Too Well, the 10-minute version that came out, and they just like debriefed it.
Yeah, I remember I watched All Too Well where it was my first time I was ever in a Bible study. And this is actually a major transformation in my story. It was my freshman year, and we go over to my former Fox Pauli guest, Janine Norby, now at the time, Janine Tremblay at the time. We go over to her apartment, and she's like, "Everyone, tonight we're watching All Too Well. It just came out." And so we watched the video. I remember there was a breakup. She was in love with a guy. I mean, this is every Taylor Swift song known to man,
That's sick.
And I don't know if she ended up happy in the end.
She's now dating a Chiefs.
Right. She now has a podcast, so she's in competition with us, unfortunately. But we know the Vox Pauli listeners are loyal, so we just hope you remain with us. But we're coming for you, Taylor Swift. All right. All right. So you mentioned you're on a podcast in Kansas. Now, how Kansas? Tell us a little bit about that backstory.
Yeah. So I'm from a suburb outside of Kansas City, Kansas. There are 2. It's
Okay.
Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm on the Kansas side.
Gotcha. Kansas City, Kansas, like smaller one, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's
like
not
they don't have the Royals. They don't,
Yeah, maybe soon, but it's called Olathe, Kansas. It's where I was born and raised. My family still lives there, and then had only lived in Kansas my whole life. Went to college at Kansas State University. Go Cats!
Go Cats!
And
the Focus team this year is very big on their
on our school spirit.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. So soon they're going to be going Go Badgers.
Oh yeah, we're ready to rep the brand. So.
Could you do a Go Badgers for the people just to?
Go Badgers.
There we go. All right, we know she's on our side now. Let's go.
Sure. So then I went to K-State for my 4 years of college, and then after that I said yes to being a Focus missionary, and they sent me all the way out to Ohio. So I lived in Columbus, Ohio, working at Ohio State for the past 3 years, and now I just moved here.
Wow, what's the Ohio State's little spirit?
They don't. So they do like the OHIO.
Yeah, right.
I like to do like a little hand one, because like Go Cats.
Right.
I say Go Bucks.
Gotcha.
Go Badgers.
Boom. October 18th, Ohio State versus Wisconsin this year at Camp Randall.
I know.
Who are you going to be rooting for?
I'm going to wear the color red, and
there's the scarlet, so we know who you're going to be rooting.
I think actually some of my students from Ohio State are going to come up for the game and try to cheer on the Bucks. Well, I said I'm just going to be indifferent because I have to root for both. I can't choose a favorite child.
You just hope that Jesus Christ prevails,
exactly.
In the end, right? May God's will be done. Day Roosevelt. All right, tell us a little bit about Kansas. When I think of Kansas, I think of, what do I think of? I think of wheat. I think of Wizard of Oz, right? What's that line?
There's no place like home,
no place
and
like
you're
home.
not in Kansas anymore.
You're not in Kansas anymore.
I
That's
get that
what
all
it
the
is.
time every time I move states.
Right.
So
You're not in Kansas anymore. I think of the Dust Bowl. I think of Jayhawk basketball. I don't think of Kansas State much, unfortunately.
Hey, that's okay. Our football's pretty good, but.
So tell us a little bit more about Kansas. Do you like the states? Your favorite things about it? Pros, cons. We've never had a Kansas person on the pod before. So.
Oh, well, I'm honored to educate you on all of the Kansas things. One of my favorite things is talking about Kansas and the different facts about it.
Okay,
let's do it. It's the sunflower state.
Oh, okay.
Our motto is Ad Astra, it's to the stars.
Wow.
Kansas's birthday is January 29th. So stay tuned. We will have a birthday party this year. We're going to have barbecue. It's going to be great. And we'll have different facts about Kansas.
Lovely. What's the Kansas City? Well, I know Kansas City barbecue is pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Kansas barbecue also pretty good.
Well, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Okay, one and the
Mm-hmm.
same. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the Kansas barbecue scene like? What are we eating if we're going to a Kansas barbecue?
Oh yeah.
What are we going to be eating?
Casey Joe's. I mean, it's all over. It's all over Kansas City. It's
I don't know what that is. You gotta educate me.
I mean, it's a restaurant that's it's kind of a chain, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Kansas City Joe's. It used to be called Oklahoma Joe's, but it's actually Kansas City Joe's now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's got great barbecue. Recommend it. It's in my hometown. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it's pretty good.
Is there ribs, pulled pork,
Yeah,
beans, mac and cheese, the whole 9 yards?
The whole shebang.
Gotcha.
So.
Lovely. Well, one other thing you've mentioned to me before, we haven't met too many times, but I know you love Italian food.
I do. I am Italian.
Oh, you are Italian.
Uh-huh.
Pure blood, 100%?
You can't tell by my last name, but
Right.
I'm 75%.
Oh, okay.
25% German. So.
Gotcha.
It's on my mom's side of the family and a little bit of my dad's actually. But yeah, my whole side of my mom's side of the family is still in Kansas City. We get together all the time. We make Italian food. I make homemade raviolis.
Wow.
It's my favorite. We make ginettis, perpettas.
I don't even know what those are.
It's like perpettas is like this tiny, it's like a flattened meatball. It's good. We put that that's the meat that we used to put in the raviolis. And ginettis are like an Italian donut. It's the best thing you'll ever have. So maybe I'll make some this year.
I would love that. Yeah, next time you're on the pod, bring me some ginettis. Okay. Yeah, like we said. Now, one thing that Italy is also known for is being the home of the Holy Catholic Church, which you are a proud daughter of. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about, how you became that way and your growth in the faith, and to share a little bit about your testimony for the people.
Yeah, so I grew up cradle Catholic. My parents and family are all practicing Catholics, and we grew up going to Mass every Sunday. What was really fun is actually we lived about 30 minutes away from our home parish, or what we claimed was our home parish, because my parents were super involved. They went to KU, which is the rival school of K-State. So black sheep of the family, I will claim it.
They still love you though.
I told them on April Fool's Day that I was going to go to K-State, and then rest is history. They thought I was joking. Not an April Fool's joke. But they met at their Catholic Student Center and just had a great group of friends there, and so they then. My mom's siblings also all went to KU, and they were all in the same friend group. So when all of them moved to Kansas City, they all wanted to go to the same parish together. So I grew up going to Mass with my cousins and my aunts and uncles and my grandparents.
Wow, it's an Italian affair.
Exactly. Then we'd go home and have pasta. So, but yeah, so that was just always instilled in me that I was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to go to Mass every Sunday because it's what my family does. That's how I learned how to pray the Rosary, because it took about 30 minutes to get there. So I only knew the glorious mysteries for a while because that's the only one we would ever do, because that's when we prayed it.
And those are the best ones,
Exactly. And so just very much in the beginning just had instilled in me of okay, this is my faith and I know it's supposed to be important, and because it's a family tied thing. But as I continued to grow up, I had different priorities of different things that I was involved in. So I was a theater girl, did shows, musicals.
I'm a theater guy myself. So let's hear about some of the shows that you were in.
Oh my gosh, where do I even start? So many. I was in my high school did 3 musicals a year, so I was in a lot of them. So I was in The Wizard of Oz. I was Dorothy.
Oh, no way.
I was in Hairspray. I was Penny. That was probably my favorite role.
Oh, Penny's awesome. Yeah, actually, producer Kennedy and I, oftentimes we'll take, development road trips, and on the way back, we're starting to get a little tired from our journeys, and I don't know if St. Paul would have done this when he was on his journeys, but on the way back, we like to listen to Hairspray a lot of the time.
Good.
So yeah, Hairspray's phenomenal. Great musical.
It's so good.
All right, proceed with the rest.
Yeah, I was in Big Fish. I was a dancer in it. Ensemble, Mary Poppins, Catch Me If You Can.
Wow.
I'm losing track. Probably
Gotcha.
many more.
Could students catch you around the center, singing songs and getting in musical numbers, or is that kind of a retired part of your life now?
It's a little bit more of a retired part of my life. I mean, every now and then, if you get me in the car, and you put on some musicals, I will belt my little heart
jam out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, you heard that here, folks. Get Jen in a car. All right.
Love carpool karaoke for sure.
Gotcha. So you're in theater for a bit, and I heard once, I think you told me this, that you went to school wanting to get a theater major.
Yes, so I wanted to go to Broadway right after college. That was the goal. I wanted to be a Rockette, but I'm too short, so I thought theater would be a close second.
Yeah. Now, were you told I want to go to Broadway? Did your parents and your friends be like, you got to think more realistic, or were they like, go chase your dreams,
No, they were super supportive. They were like, all right, this is what you want to do. Let's go explore it. And theater was something that was very much integrated. Music is very much integrated into my family. I have other cousins that have also done a bunch of shows. I had one cousin who did go out to New York for a little bit. He did a touring show and a couple other things while he was out there. I have another second cousin she did a bunch of shows out there. So it wasn't too unfamiliar to my family. And so I think also the fact that I wanted to stay kind of closer to home very much eased any sort of fear. Maybe I had auditioned at many different universities too, and decided on K-State because of just the connection to Kansas City. Kansas City is actually a huge hub when it comes to theater and the connections that you can make, because it's all about networking, honestly, and who you know. And Kansas City is very much well known for that. So I thought might as well just stay for a little bit longer. And ended up going to K-State, and I had 3 goals of going to K-State. Is that I wanted to, just star in all of the shows, be great in theater and get discovered. I wanted to join a sorority and live the college experience, and I wanted to go to my Catholic Student Center to find my husband. So that was my 3 goals.
All right, let's go through it.
Those 3 things did not happen, but unfortunately, but actually no, fortunately, but so I was involved with all 3 of those things. I joined Sigma Kappa my freshman year of college. Was just looking for friends, looking for involvement. Kind of went to my student center. I joined a Bible study for the first semester, but couldn't really go to it because of my theater schedule. It was just always conflicting. But always went to mass on Sunday because I was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to do that, and if I'm doing something good, that means I'm going to get rewarded. And that was just the type of mindset that I had of God, even of just okay, do something good, He will reward you. Do something bad, He will punish you. And that's just.
Right.
That was the view I just had.
A little prosperity gospel-esque.
Yeah, exactly. So as I'm going through my freshman year, just I'm trying to make friends, and just things are just not living up to the expectation that I had in my head of I thought this is supposed to be the happiest I'll ever be, and it's such freedom, all this stuff, and was just kind of this isn't what I want, and wasn't feeling fulfilled in my friendships that I was trying to make at the student center, because I wasn't there, and I actually wasn't putting any effort into it, and wasn't there for the right reasons. You're
just there to find your husband.
Exactly. And then my sorority also was just not finding the full fulfillment that the world tells you that you're promised of these are going to be your future bridesmaids. These are your closest friends, all this stuff. And you'll be so happy when you finally get to do all the things that you want to do. And that's, what I've always been told, and wasn't finding that. And then in theater as well, was just really struggling with, the theater department was just so different and I was meeting new people, and there were people that were better than me. And so was kind of having to take a little humility pill, a little bit of, okay, I'm not the best that's out there. I'm not going to be the one that's going to get the role of everything. Yeah. And so fast forward then to my second semester, I had just gone to Seek in Indianapolis. This was in 2019. Mm-hmm. And I went because my siblings had all gone before me, and they just raved about how much they loved this conference. And I was like, well, if they're going, I should go too. And so, left that conference, and just got more involved, really got more an in-depth involved in the community, but then also just like Jesus had me all to himself. I didn't have a show I was doing. I wasn't around my sorority sisters. I was just kind of like, I wasn't even around my, like really my family, but I was just there and got to witness like so many other like young Catholics. And I was like, okay, this is different. And so I came back from that and shared this with my best friend Maggie, who went to high school with me and also like did like theater with me. She was also in a different sorority than I was, but it was kind of growing in great friendship with her. And so I was telling her about this conference that I had been on, and I was like, yeah, I think I need to start praying. And like, what does that look like? And Maggie, growing up a non-denom Christian, was just like, okay, this is how you pray. You're supposed to read your Bible and stuff like that. And I was like, great. I know where we can do it at the Catholic Center because they have adorations.
Right.
And she was like, what is that? So we ended up then that next semester just going and praying together like once a week in adoration, her just like wanting to find a quiet place to pray, and me just being like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be here.
Yep.
And so then through that whole experience, like worked at a summer camp, a Catholic summer camp in Kansas City. And then, just like came back, was like, all right, I'm going to live in my sorority house. I'm going to do things differently. This year's going to be so much better, and I'm going to find my fulfillment this year because I've been praying now. And I get to college and, just like fall into the temptations of just being surrounded in the party culture. And, just like find myself still in a place of like, I'm still feeling unfulfilled. I'm like supposed to be checking all of these different boxes, and it's just not working. And at this time, there was a new missionary that came in town. Her name's Steffi. She was, this was her first year as a focused missionary at Kansas State. And met her like the first night of like, or like the last night of sorority recruitment. And it's like this when all of the different parties are like happening. And so I met her and she was like trying to invite me to the Newman Center party. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have plans already. And just like remember that encounter. She was just like, okay, but like I'll talk to you tomorrow at Mass. And I was like, okay. And just remember like leaving that night of like, something's different.
Yeah.
And just like then went through my sophomore year, was still trying to pray, was still going to weekly adoration with my friend Maggie. And then COVID happened the second semester, and I had to go home. And I had to leave my sorority. I had to stop the show I was a part of. We actually never got to perform it. And it was like it was just a small one act. And I also had to leave my Newman Center friends that I was making at this point. And so the Lord had taken away all of these different aspects that I was finding my identity in, that I was trying to find value in. And he was like, no, it's just me. And I was trying to go to daily Mass too at this point, because I was like, well, the other people at the Newman Center are doing it, so I think I'm supposed to do it too. And I was at a daily Mass during spring break of my sophomore year, and they had announced that the church was going to be closed and they weren't going to have Mass anymore. And I was like, oh, you mean I don't get to receive the Eucharist anymore? And like I'd never experienced that like denial almost of like, I don't get to receive Jesus. And it was in that moment I was like, wow, this actually means something. And just like the Lord then like made it super clear of like, I'm like literally going to take you away out of all of these different areas. You're going to go home to your family, where like I had made all of this initially of like that initial relationship with me of when you knew me was with your family. And so through that time of COVID, really got to know the Lord more in a more intentional way, and like got to choose him, not because I had to or because that's what everybody else was doing, but because I actually did want him. Yeah. And that was just crazy.
Yeah. And what did you do in that time of COVID? What was kind of your routine that you grew in that relationship?
So the missionaries would host like an online prayer time at like 9 a.m., which is when we would normally have, they would normally have adoration at the Newman Center. And so I would just wake up and go to that. They'd lead us through kind of like a little meditation. So sometimes I would go to that, or I would just be at home and I would read, or I would
just sit in silence
or just exist. Some of the days just kind of like ran together, and you're like, okay, now what? And my friend Maggie, she lived like about a 5-minute drive away from me. So we still tried to pray together once a week. And so we would sit on the driveway, and she would sit at one end and I'd sit at the other end with a lawn chair, and we'd read our Bibles at the same time. And that was us trying to pray together. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then slowly as things started coming back up again, and like we got to go back to the university, just like was just like changed. I I changed my major. So I was a finance major is what I ended up graduating with, which is such a switch.
Right. Yeah. The theater to finance,
you know,
finance girl boss.
Both right brain and left brain. You gotta have both.
That's right.
And I was still in my sorority. I wasn't living in it. I was an officer position at this point. So I had a little bit more step and change and like just had more of like a leadership aspect. For some of the women, I started leading a Bible study in my sorority, which was really fun.
That's awesome.
So like got to work with a lot of like the freshman women who were just coming in, just like I was, of just like wanting to find these like friendships and being able to be like, okay, but there's another way you can do that still within your sorority, but just like add Jesus to it.
Yep.
And then, was just more involved at my student center at this point. And through just Maggie and I continued to go to adoration together, and she started asking more questions through that actually. And so through that, she just like would keep coming around the Newman Center a little bit more, and she would ask me all these questions that I just like didn't know the answer to. And she was like asking me about like purgatory, angels, salvation, and I was like, I should know these answers as a Catholic, but I don't think I actually do know how to like do this. So like we would just start looking up answers like in the catechism. We would go, she came to the Bible study that I was attending with my missionary. We went through a sacrament study where we went through all 7 of the sacraments, where they come from, why we do them, and just like really did like a little catechesis essentially.
Yeah.
And then we would meet with one of the priests, Father Drew, like once a week, and Father Gale as well. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting because the whole dynamic between, Protestants and Catholics is obviously, we're both, striving to make Christ the center of our lives, and we believe he's the way, the truth, and the life. But on the Catholic side of things, you got a whole lot more things to explain. We purgatory, like the angels and saints, the Pope, the whole entire history that you have to back up. And with Protestants, I think it's a little bit, more simple, where it's, we have scripture and we have service every week, and we believe that Christ is the center. It just looks a little bit different, and so there's a lot of apologetics that you kind of have to know if you really want to fully understand the faith to its fullest extent.
Well, and that's what drove her to want to learn more about the Catholic Church, is because the Bible study that she was a part of before that, she was like, I just feel like there's like no depth to it. There's nothing more than just what I'm getting on the surface level, and like, she wasn't happy with the friendships that she was having too. So I was like, well, just come to my Bible study. We're talking about some pretty deep stuff now. And so through that friendship, like she came to see our makeshift seek that year because it was COVID still. And she like would just come to adoration. And I truly believe it was because, her just like literally sitting in front of the Eucharist for hours on end. It was just like what was like kind of this change of heart, a little bit of like, oh yeah, that's actually like the Lord.
Right.
Yeah, it was just crazy. So we did a St. Joseph consecration. Like we did all this stuff. She like came to Ash Wednesday Mass. She prayed the rosary with me. She was just like
checking all the Catholic boxes.
She was doing all of it. And then on March 19th, because it was St. Joseph's feast day, she was like, I want to become Catholic. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And
I love it. Ite Joseph, go to Joseph.
And it was just so beautiful to get to walk with her, because like her curiosity of the faith was really like a check on myself of like, why don't I know these answers? Like if I've grown up doing this, like why have I not sought more truth of like what this is? And got to like walk with her in her whole process of becoming Catholic, and got to be her confirmation sponsor that following year.
That's gotta be like the most, like walking with someone for years and being their childhood best friend as well. That's got to be one of the best feelings on earth.
Yeah, it's so good. She just finished up her last her second year with Cove Crest. It's another Catholic summer camp. It's with Life Team in Georgia. Sure. She's been there for the past like 2 years,
praise
and
God.
Just like it's been so fun to be like a missionary at the same time with her, and just she's my best friend. And it's just like, I think that's like what honestly sparked my desire to be a missionary, is because like, okay, I got to walk with her in her whole faith journey. I'm like, I love doing that.
Right.
As much as finance is so much fun. And
you're telling me you'd rather be a missionary than spend time in Google Sheets?
You know, it's shocking, because I do love Google Sheets. I'm a very type A person, but just like getting to walk with her and like that, and answer these questions and find out the answers with her. And just like, it was just so fulfilling. And it was just like, wow, I absolutely love doing this. And I loved the women I was discipling in college. I loved leading my Bible study, I got to live with the missionaries my junior year of college. And like, that was so formative of like, yeah, how they lived their life. I got to, because like when you live with somebody, you can't hide your lack of virtue from them.
Right.
Like you see it all of when they're starting their day to their end of the day, how they're spending their time. And so when I was with the missionary who was walking with me, Steffi, like how she would choose to stop whatever fun activity we're doing because she's like, actually, I haven't prayed yet today. And it's like 9 p.m. And she's like, I'm going to go in my room and I'm going to go pray because I haven't done that today and I need to give my time to the Lord. And that was just like such a huge witness of her self-discipline and her excellence. It was just like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I should probably do that too.
Yeah, I think everything in the Christian life, you can always be told, you guys should be praying, 15, 20 minutes a day, pray your rosary. But it was kind of the same thing with me of when you're basically like living life with these people, and that's why it's so similar to how the early Christians lived, the first Christians, because there was no formalized church yet. They were just getting, the show on the road. All the apostles were going out to the ends of the world, trying to proclaim, Jesus Christ and this church that he founded and, trying to make conversions. And the way they did it was just, one by one, you start out, with, like a dad in a house and, you win him over and then he wins over his wife. And then, he teaches his kids the faith and then you take care of your neighbor. And when you're at the, the little market, you talk to the bread maker, and it's just like so simple, but just by living life with people, everything is better caught than taught, and that was the guy that, was super influential, Greg, for me. He would always say, we'd go out to some, it's Greg Lyons. So he's a little wild. But we'd go out, go to try to go to like a house party or something. But he'd always say, every night that starts in the club ends in the chapel.
Little bar evangelization.
Exactly. So we'd go out, we had, fun on a Saturday night, and then we'd come back to the chapel late at night and we'd finish with like 10 minutes of prayer. And I remember just thinking like, that's wild. Like we've just had a great night and you're going to decide to like end this in silence, and like now you understand that we should be giving as much of our day to the Lord. And that doesn't mean that we have to be in intentional prayer all the time, but we do need to have those specific parts of the day, start off with 15 minutes, but then try to grow from there and just giving that intentional time to the Lord. And kind of like what you were saying about Maggie and her conversion. And you were just like, I think she was just moved by spending hours in adoration. And an old pastor, Father Eric Nielsen, he was like, I don't really care what people do in prayer. They can be reading the newspaper for all I care. It's like when you're there with Jesus, he'll convert your heart,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So what were some of the major, questions that Maggie asked you or kind of on your journey where you started investigating and you were like, wow, like this makes a lot of sense, or this was so kind of transformative or moving for me?
I think I just, the question I always come back to, she always asks like, what is purgatory? We were playing ping pong and it was just so, I missed the ball and I was like, dang it, it distracted me. But yeah, I like just never really knew how to explain it. I knew it was something that was like a part of our faith. And one of the greatest explanations I think I was given by Father Drew, who met with us, he was talking about there has to be some sort of process that happens between our time here on earth and like when we get into heaven. And there has to be some sort of like purification that happens. And so it's like, what do you call that? And even like this idea of like what time is to us. Also, I had never really thought about that, of like that God is outside of time too. And just like this idea of purification in that to be set afire for love of like the Lord. I think of like The Great Divorce, like C.S. Lewis, like that's always like one like I always come back to, of just like it's just like such a visual like explanation of like something that's so like abstract, but yeah.
In your you've been a missionary, this is your 4th year now, right? And you've been leading Bible studies all this time. And what are some of the major questions that students have asked you that's either challenged you or just kind of like brought you closer to the Lord kind of in your time, whether it's just in terms of prayer or some apologetics? Is there anything that kind of comes to mind?
I think when it comes to, we lead like the Crux Bible study, which is like, it talks about the gospel, the 5 R's of relationship, rebellion, reconciliation, recreation, and then our response to it.
Before you keep going.
Oh yeah.
I want to, we have never had a formal gospel presentation here on the show. And I think, Focus Missionary, new team director, why don't you give us, your spark notes, the ChatGPT without using it of the Holy Gospel for us right now.
Yeah. So the first line of the catechism is, God, infinitely perfect and blessed in himself, in a plan of sheer goodness, freely created man to share in his own blessed life. And that is, I think, sums up relationship. We call it the 5 R's because it's easy to remember. It's transferable. You can tell it to anybody.
Right.
So yeah, first and foremost, we were made for relationship. Why? That's like the question that we have is like, why do we exist? Why did God make us? And a simple answer I've always given and have always been told is like that we are made for love, by love, to love. That like God, who is love, made us out of love for us to love others. So we are made in his image and likeness, for no benefit of his own, but rather to exist to love him and to love others. And so, yeah, we are made in this relationship. We see this in the relationships that we have, like with like siblings, spouses, friendships, coworkers. Like there is relationship all over everywhere we see.
Yep.
But we also know that there was a rebellion. We know that there's fall and there's brokenness in our world. We see that also in these relationships that like, yeah, there's brokenness in families, there's brokenness in workplaces and all this stuff. And so we see that because it's a result of the fall of Adam and Eve distrusting in God, of that they had free will to choose to love God or to choose to turn away. And that's ultimately what our first parents did. It was to turn away. But yeah, and so that then it created this infinite chasm between God and man. Just like when you wrong someone, there's like something you need. There's like this like kind of gap between you two. Like you can feel it almost. But when you do that you have like this urge and like this internal like desire of like, okay, I want to make amends though, but how do we make amends with an all perfect infinite God when we are the one who's wronged? And so that's where Jesus comes in, and he is the ultimate answer to the both, because he, as fully God, fully divine, he's also fully man. So he actually gets to represent man in this gift of self, but actually can make it to the magnitude that it needs to be to bring us back to the divine, because he is both. So he is what St. Catherine of Siena calls the bridge between this great chasm. And from there, the story doesn't end. We always talk about, oh yeah, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, but what does that actually mean for my life? And that's where recreation comes in. So we have relationship, rebellion, reconciliation, Jesus coming in and reconciling the fall, to then come into recreation, which is actually us, becoming more like Christ. Of like, how do we come to know the Father is through Jesus. He says, I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to know the Father except through me. So the more we take on Christ and be imitators of him, the more we will come to know the Father and be reunited with him. But all of this requires a response on our end. That's the 5th R. So I think the gospel is not something that's just like a one and done. It's a constant like choosing of, do I want to make Jesus the center of my life? And every decision that I make, like, is Jesus actually, is like his divinity and his goodness actually influencing anything that I'm doing? And that's like the question that we have to ask ourselves and ask other people too. I love that we talk about the gospel so much because it's in everything. Like it's the greatest love story that there ever was. And that's what everything is inspired from, is from this idea of separation and coming back together, and it's being made new. And like, then you have to keep choosing it over and over again, because like love is a choice too.
Wow. Snaps. The Holy Gospel. I'll answer your question. I would like to make Jesus the center of my life.
Thank you. Praise God.
I love it. All right. I interrupted you earlier. You were talking about the crux. We talked about the 5 R's. To summarize for the people, the 5 R's, let's memorize these. We got relationship. We got rebellion. We got reconciliation. We got recreation. And then, response.
There you go.
Boom. All right. So we got the 5 R's. Now we're talking about the crux and kind of some common things that you get a lot of questions about as a missionary, or, just things that people commonly misunderstand about the Holy Gospel.
I think honestly, we always forget kind of about the recreation aspect of it. And sorry, can you ask the question one more time?
It's just, what do when you have been walking with people kind of throughout these 3-4 years of being a Bible study leader, discipling, what are some common things that people, you know, either like misrepresent or misunderstand about the gospel and kind of the entire Christian story that you get a lot of questions about?
I think a little bit about the cross and just like Jesus's role in it, of like, I think there's a lot of interpretations of like, oh, God sent down Jesus to take our place. And like that, it's almost portraying God as like this like ruthless God of like just needing to take his anger out on someone. And Jesus is like, oh, I'm the innocent one. I'll come and take their place. And it's like, actually, that's not the gospel. It's the gospel is that Jesus is taking on with us and bringing us to the Father. And then the Father is, like sending his son, but also like Jesus is like, I want to go down. Like I want to be the sacrifice in this way. So I think sometimes that can get a little bit misinterpreted. I think also we failed to recognize that there was a fall. People just like kind of forget of like, oh yeah, like there is like concupiscence, like there is like sin in the world,
right? Because
we just always assume, oh yeah, everything's all peachy keen and stuff like that. But it's like always the question of like, why is there bad in the world? Why do bad things happen to good people? And I think it's because like we forget that we do live in a fallen world and that this earth is not our end goal, that like heaven is actually what the end goal is.
Right. Yeah. And even, I love that. And we say that at every Easter vigil, oh happy fault of Adam, which is gained for us, oh so glorious a Redeemer, you know, and I get chills every time that's echoed, that we can actually be very grateful for Adam, which I learned today is a saint. He's actually Saint Adam and Saint Eve. But Matthew Veens, shout out, came to the development office, was talking about this, that we don't refer to Old Testament figures with saint name before that. But anyways, so just a little history for you guys. But anyways, Adam, you know, we can be so grateful for their fall because like any good story, like any movie that you love, there's always, you know, a comeback, right? Like what's your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh, put me on the spot. The only movie that's coming to mind is Sweet Home Alabama because that's my dad and I's favorite movie.
Can we take Sweet Home Alabama and apply the gospel to the story?
Oh, for sure. Actually, I have a different movie that has the gospel in it. Can I share that one instead?
Yeah.
It's Anastasia. Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, Andrew.
Gotta watch it.
Yes.
All right.
It's the gospel. It really is. It's an animated like princess movie essentially. I don't think it's Disney, but it starts off about the Romanov families, this royal family in Russia, and it starts off with this big dance scene. It's like everyone's joyous. It's a party. It's the royal family, like participating in joy. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of this interaction or this party, comes in Rasputin, which is the villain of this, and he has such something against the royal family. He hates them, and he just wants nothing. His whole purpose in life is to kill them, essentially. And he won't rest until the entire Romanov family is dead. And so it goes through this whole like crazy scene, and then the youngest daughter, Anastasia, she gets away with her grandmother. But they get separated at some point. She falls off of a train. She hits her head, and she loses her memory of who she is. So she doesn't remember she's a princess. She doesn't remember anything about her family. She doesn't know who she is. And so then she goes on this whole journey of like, then 10 years later, she gets to 18. She leaves the orphanage that she was like found at. And she now has this choice of like, I can either go to St. Petersburg and just work and just like keep my head down and never figure out who I am. But like, I think that there's something more. I think that there is my family somewhere off in Paris. She has like this necklace that says like together in Paris. And that's her clue essentially. Mm-hmm. And so she goes on this whole journey. She meets this guy, Dmitri, who informs her of like, he's trying to look for the lost princess Anastasia. And he's a con man, so he doesn't really care. He's like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. She doesn't know who she is. I'll just teach her to be this princess. And so as he's teaching her essentially about her life, like going through the history of her family history, the things that she likes to do, all this stuff, and like she's kind of going on this process of self-discovery of who she is. She ends up like going to see like her grandmother, and like her grandmother won't even see her, and then because she's like, oh, Anastasia's dead, she's not alive, like she's been lost for so many years. And it's not until they're face to face that actually she recognizes that this is her granddaughter, and that she remembers who she is. So this is the gospel because, one, the Romanov family, are we not a part of the royal family of God?
Indeed. We're baptized into his kingship.
Exactly. And do we not have a Rasputin in our life that just wants an end to the royal family?
His name is Satan.
Is Satan, and just wants, and like won't rest until all of them are dead.
That's right.
And so in the fall, this is like when she hits her head and she gets amnesia. She doesn't remember that she's a princess. She doesn't remember her family heritage. Just like we forgot who we were. We
forget our divine filiation.
Exactly.
We forget that we're sons and daughters of the Most High.
And it's not until we are like learning more about, like we come to learn more about our own history and our story of salvation that actually we come to know more who we are. But it's not until we're face to face with our family, with Jesus, that like we truly get to know who we are. There's so many testimonies that I've heard. It's like, oh, it wasn't until I got to adoration or like I was face to face with Jesus that I actually remembered of like, oh, this is who I am. And so that's why Anastasia is the gospel.
Wow. Boom. I love it. Now I challenge you guys, watch any movie, pretty much any really good movie, and you can find elements of the Holy Gospel implemented it because it's the story that God ingrained into our being, into our fiber. So I love that. One more topic before we kind of close up. I want to talk a little bit more about the sorority life, about Greek life, and kind of like, you know, what your experience of it. Do you recommend it? Like what was your kind of transformation from, first just like wanting to be in a sorority, and then 2 years later, you're leading sorority girls, in a Bible study. Talk a little bit about like sorority Greek life, your experience.
Yeah, I think just going into college, I was like, all right, this is like where the party scene is. This is the college experience I've been told I'm supposed to have. My identity will be in my chapter. And that's like how I went into it. Like I talked to multiple women. I'm a Greek missionary too. So I work with Greek women who are like involved with sororities and all that fun jazz. And so, yeah. And just like, that's like, I feel like that's like the common fall is like, you're looking for your identity and you want to find these lasting friendships and this connectivity. And that's like, I did find friendships in my sorority. Wouldn't say that they were the most faithful ones at the time, but yeah, it's really as an organization, like prepares you well actually for mission. Like, I wouldn't say that's like the place that you go to find like your main like relationship with the Lord, but actually it is like a great springboard for mission field is you learn how to talk to anybody. You have a great avenue to like join in friendship and discipleship even like with your sorority sisters. I didn't disciple anybody directly in my sorority with me, but have just like known of like great fruit that has come from that of like sharing like a commonality of like, okay, once a week we're going to go to chapter dinner and we have this like common like responsibilities. It's very philanthropic too as well. So I do recommend it. I think it's a great opportunity to like grow as a person. I think, but paired with also involvement in your student center as well of like finding this both in, because you don't want to just be in your just jacuzzi of Catholicism of like, okay, I'm only going to go to the Newman Center and those are the only people I will be involved in. That's great, but also like then you're never actually going to get the experience of people having opposing opinions to you, right. And like how do you learn how to receive those charitably, and then also like who's going to go out to those people? Right.
You're missing out on elements of number 5, the 5th R response. You're not getting the full picture.
Yeah, but then you also don't want to just only seclude yourself to your sorority, because then you're separating yourself. We use the analogy of hot coals in focus of like, okay, you have like this burning fire of coals, and if you take one coal away from it, it's going to cool off and die.
Yep.
And so you want to make sure you're still like being fed in the faith and having people still of like somewhat like-minded. So you need you need the balance of both is my recommendation. If you're going to join your sorority, get involved in your Newman Center as well, and merge the two worlds together. Don't keep them separate. Like they should be something that are like both of them know of one another, because even at your Catholic center, like I think main hesitation for a bunch of sorority women is like, oh, I'm not going to be accepted there. They're not going to want me. There's all this shame and stereotypes that like actually they're going to think less of me in that. And I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think it's very much like there is both. It's a both and of like, actually you should feel welcomed at your Catholic center if you're also in your sorority too. And so there should, there should be a both and of like the Lord rectifying it. So
exactly, like many things in the Christian life, it's not an either or, it's a both and. Exactly. All right, you're at UW-Madison. You're at one of the biggest Newman centers in the country. How are you feeling about things? You've been here for a couple weeks. What are the initial vibes?
Yeah, it's a pulse check. I'm feeling good. Honestly, it's been so great to be here. Like I felt super welcomed. I think of the 5 of us that are new to just Madison in general, it's been really beautiful to be welcomed by like the interns, the staff, fathers, like everyone's been super just like excited for us to be here. And I think all of us coming in just like kind of like, we don't really know what's going on. We do, but not at the same time. And we just like, it's been so great to be led by everybody and just get to receive in that way. And yeah, it's really beautiful to see like the culture that has been here for generations. And like us get to like reap the fruit that has been sown like probably from many years ago of the hard work and the labors of the missionaries and the interns that have like painstakingly like waited or like been praying and like now get to receive that. Right behind you there's a little photo of all of the old peer ministers from like 25 plus years ago who were the initial people that kind of started the student movement here at St. Paul's. So thank you. Thank you guys for paving the way. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So very, very good. Yeah, we're super excited for you guys. It's going to be an amazing year. Why don't you close us with one message you have for any students listening before they get on campus and get ready to roll? Probably just, be not afraid. And Mary has everything under control.
I love it. That's beautiful. Alrighty. Jen, thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to see all the beautiful things that, all the interns and missionaries do and continue to work in the Lord's vineyard. And it's going to be an awesome year. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another Vox Pauli. St. John Paul II, St. Paul, Our Lady, cause of our joy. Pray for us. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Pax and Godspeed.